Good afternoon, folks. Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. The sun has actually come out today. We're going to continue on with the Global War 1939 series, the special units. This episode may be one of the more least anticipated units or liked units in the game is cruisers, and two other units that maybe you're not too excited about, but they are going to be in 39. This version is the torpedo boat and coastal battleships. Now, torpedo boats and coastal battleships are kind of a carryover from the World War I era. A lot of the neutral, pro-Ally, pro-Axis nations still had coastal battleships, so they were still, you know, kind of widely used in the world. Same with torpedo boats, but however, these two units you cannot purchase in the game. Whatever the starting setup is, that's what it is for the rest of the game. You cannot purchase any more. So, but I was saying, coastal battleships are probably one of the units that, hey, great, you just inherited a battleship from a pro-Ally or pro-neutral or whatever nation, and then you learn it's a coastal battleship, and it's a little bit underwhelming. I've been there before. However, I've tried to simplify what coastal battleships do to make it simpler, because I always used to have to look it up. In the original 39, coastal battleships attacked at a 4 and defended at a 6, and they absorbed a hit like a regular battleship does. Now I'm just going to make it simpler. They're just going to be 5 and 5. So they're going to attack at a 5, defend at a 5, and absorb 2 hits. When they absorb 2, one of the differences is they will be able to move 1 after they absorb their first hit. And they will attack at 3 and defend at 3 once they've taken a hit. And that's going to be for all battleships. So whatever they are, it's just going to be -2 once they are hit. And to figure out coastal bombardment from a cruiser and a coastal battleship or a battleship, and actually I forgot to mention that destroyers can also coastal bombard in this version of the game, you just -2 from the attack value, and that is the coastal bombard value. So hopefully that simplifies the rules. And with all of the coastal submarines and battleships, they have to be parallel to a coastal territory. And that was because the World War I area ships were horrible on fuel and they could not venture out too far. So that's what they do in the game. There was a time when I thought, what's the point of these things? But historically, there's some history there, so I think it's important to have these in the game. In reference to the torpedo boats, I think only America has them in the game, and one of them starts out in the Philippines because we felt that General MacArthur is going to need that torpedo boat to be able to escape to Australia. So that's what's going to happen there. The torpedo boat, I'll just show you right here. That's what it looks like. The sculpt is available at HBG in a 3D print. They're the same for all the different nations. I know they're a unit that's used in Global War 1936. Currently, it's going to attack at a 3 and defend at a 2. So that's what a torpedo boat is going to do. Not a very good unit, but they were mostly made of wood and did not really have much of a role in the Second World War. However, they were around. So again, to deal with history, cruisers were going to be the same as the original 1939, attack at 6, defend at 6, and coastal bombard at 4. All the naval units in the game, they're going to move 2 spaces and 3 from a naval base. So across the board, that's what it is. Now let's talk about cruisers and coastal battleships, or how can you get some? Do you have some? What sculpts can you use as an alternative? And this, I believe this is the Norg. This is a Spanish Norg. I've got my Spanish units painted yellow. It's a 3D sculpt from HBG. This is the Italian out-of-box sculpt. A little bit of a weathered look. And this is, I believe, that's the Mogami Japanese cruiser, which is available at HBG. This is the out-of-box one. You can see the one from HBG has a lot more detail. And HBG has done a fantastic job with a lot of the countries. You know, their naval sculpts are second to none, and they have a lot of detail and variety. For the coastal battleships, for the Axis, you could also use an original battleship from the original Axis and Allies. That's a sculpt. You can see it's almost the same size as a cruiser. This is the Graf Spee, again, another 3D print. Actually, this is not a 3D print. This is in the battle pieces section of on HBG. So kind of cool, the Graf Spee. Some more, I believe this is the Allied recommended coastal battleship on HBG. Just a couple different paintings or different colors. That's the Dutch one. Now this is the Dutch cruiser, the Neutrals cruiser. Not the most detailed sculpt. There's a lot better ones available on HBG. Again, this is a original Axis and Allies battleship beside a British cruiser. You can see they're almost the same length, so they could work as a coastal battleship if you wanted them to. There's lots of different options. This is the Free French cruiser. Again, this is the authentic cruiser that I think it's got the name on it there as well. So you can see the Suffren. That's the Suffren. I like it when HBG does that. Kind of helps you identify what it was. That's the out-of-box Russian cruiser. And then America actually has quite a few different cruisers and battleships, and the Armada of American Navy in the Second World War they had so many different variations of sculpts. So I believe the far one is the Baltimore, and the closer one is the Omaha. And the Omaha, I think, was a light cruiser, and this is the out-of-box sculpt, so you can kind of see what they look like. Now, we felt that in terms of why don't we have, battle cruisers and light cruisers, folks, it was that we added a lot of new units to the game, and we felt that with adding the torpedo boat and some of the other corvettes, that it was enough. And would it really impact the game too much if we had a light cruiser versus a battle cruiser? Would this be a little bit more confusing? It's possible, folks, that in the future, if somebody else was to redevelop this version of the game, they could incorporate more naval units into the game. Also, because we added so much history into the game, in terms of researching, all the different cruisers and battleships, and when they were in the game, folks, it would probably be, at least in my mind right now, a bridge too far to cross. So, but that kind of sums up cruisers, torpedo boats, and coastal battleships. This is might be the final video I shoot today on Remembrance Day. I'm going to try and get out now and enjoy some sun with my children. And I'm just thinking about maybe one of the most famous speeches that came out of the Second World War by Churchill. And I've used this a lot of times in my life to motivate myself, but today I want to use this in terms of reflection. When Churchill said to the world, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing ground, we shall never surrender." That speech, folks, just want to think about all the people that sacrificed so much for us to enjoy our lives that we have today, and take a moment of pause and give thanks. So thank you for watching, folks, and stay tuned.